on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're finally getting the parts put on the Ninja H2 Carbon, which is that H2, not this H2, but I finally have the full exhaust and the filter and everything I need to finish this bike. Come on back and take a look. I've got the full Vandemon polish system that's going on this bike, so nice and polished. This one's going to turn all kinds of crazy colors. That came in. Brock's hooked me up with a Sprint air filter, so nice airflow for the bike. I've got the ECU flash with the two-wheel Dyno Works flash on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and move some of these bikes out, and we're gonna get this thing up and start taking the exhaust off of it. I'll kind of go over what I'm doing with the bike too as well, so give me just a minute. All right, I took some of the bikes out of the garage, so now we've got a little bit of room to work in here, but I wanted to show you guys what's going on with the bike currently. So the bike is 100% stock other than the ECU flash. That's why the bike is ripped apart like it is right now. I had the side fairings off of it because the ECU is all the way up here in the nose fairing, if you can see that. Yeah, so you have to take this entire front carbon piece off of the bike, which is extremely scary to say the least. I mean, you have to get kind of aggressive pulling this over these mirror mounts and everything, and it's not fun. I mean, that thing's basically like a $4,500 fairing, so not something you want to mess up on these bikes. But I've got everything tore down on the sides that I pulled for the ECU, so I left it all that way. Now we're gonna go in here and yank the exhaust off the bike and put the Vandemon on it. I am gonna go ahead and yank the radiator on it just because I think it's gonna make it easier. You could probably do it with the radiator still attached to the hoses and just dangling, but I don't wanna mess anything on the radiator up. I don't wanna risk it. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably drain the coolant and pull the radiator on it. We are going to be pulling the tank up and getting into the air box so I can put that Sprint filter in there. So let's go ahead and dig into this thing. So before I start tearing it down, I did want to show you guys something. This is the polished version of the Vandemon, and on my other H2 over here, it has the brushed version. So this is how the polished version comes, super shiny. This is the brushed titanium version. So this polished version is actually going to turn more colors than the brushed titanium version of the exhaust. Well guys, new development, I just looked it up, and the filter is actually in here. For some reason I was thinking I was gonna have to pull the tank off, but my other H2 out there already had a filter on it, so I've never installed one on one of these bikes. But it makes sense because the supercharger is back here, so it would be pre-supercharger right here. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and pull this entire tube off and pull this mount off, and then that should give us access to the filter. It makes it really easy since the side fairing is already gone. So let's go ahead and yank that stuff. All right guys, this is the stock filter. I don't know if you can see that, but you can't see through it at all versus the Sprint P08 F185 filter. If you kind of hold it up to the light, you can see right through the filter versus the stock filter. So definitely getting a lot less filtration, but a lot of horsepower gains can be made off of this. This is all the front side of the supercharger. As you can see, it's got a little bit of oil down there, which is pretty normal on boosted applications. You get some blow by on it, but there is the impeller wheel in there. So that's the front side of the supercharger. Air comes through here and it shoots up to the plenum. Pretty cool though. Not many bikes have a factory supercharger. all the intake work is all done on this. Pretty easy, to be honest with you guys, like especially when you have this fairing off of it. 1 bolt up there, 3 bolts here, 3 bolts up there, whole thing comes off. Swap the filter out, just sits in there. Super easy. So next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and start draining the coolant on the radiator. That way I can swing it forward. I think swinging it forward is gonna give me enough room. I don't think I'm gonna have to actually take it all the way off, but definitely gonna have to drain the coolant and swing that forward. And then we can get at the header bolts and take the muffler off. I'm gonna go ahead and get the muffler off of this thing, just get it out of the way. Just take this little heat shield off, and it should be just disconnect down here, disconnect up here, and the whole thing should come off. And then we're gonna go ahead and drain the coolant off of this thing. The shipping company. That was. Thank you, shipping company, for ruining my stock exhaust that I was gonna get rid of. But yeah, this is like. Yeah, it's all banged up. It's like freaking 20 pounds. We're gonna weigh this stuff, but it's disgusting and very heavy. Basically, all we did here was take that bolt out of the bottom of the radiator, took these 2 clamps back and pulled it apart. Made an absolute mess everywhere. I'm gonna go do the same on the other side. And then I should be able to just swing this whole assembly forward. And I think that'll give me enough room to get up there and get it at these header bolts. So hopefully that works out, but that's the plan at least. This side of the radiator, we didn't have to actually take the entire hose off. It's close. It's like maybe a 1/2 inch away from being fully disconnected on it. But that gives us enough room to get in here with a socket and get to all these bolts. So I think that'll be enough. Just be a little careful on the back of the radiator, but we're gonna go ahead and drop this thing and weigh it and see what kind of weight savings that we're gonna get. You're also gonna have to disconnect the exit valve back here. You're gonna have to take that cover off and take those nuts loose and take the cables for the exit valve off and disconnect the O2 sensors. So we've got the middle ones out, and this guy right there is becoming an issue on clearance between that and the radiator fan. So the solution that we've come up with, instead of dropping the entire radiator, we're just doing this. So we're taking the wrench, putting it on the end of the Allen, and that is gonna give us enough room. You can see that. Just plenty of room to break it loose. Like so. Perfect. Solutions. Come over here and get the original weight. What do you got, like 151?
He's a big guy. Where is it? I can see. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, 151-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Header and cat. What is that, 170?
Yeah, 169 maybe.
Okay, so like 18 pounds here. And then, I don't know, the muffler may be heavier than the freaking cat. About the same?
A couple pounds less.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
167 maybe.
Okay, so what, like 36, 37 pounds, somewhere in there?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, let's get the full Vandemon out. Still recording. Alright, full Vandemon, obviously minus the springs and stuff.
You're about 161.
161, so what, like 10 pounds? 11 pounds? So we're literally shaving off like 26 pounds. So basically like a 23 to 25 pound weight savings, getting rid of all that stuff. We're pretty much gonna call it a day right now because it's absolutely disgusting out and it's muggy as crap. But the entire exhaust is off. Definitely keep an eye on, make sure all of your gaskets are still in up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Make sure all those gaskets stay in. So we're gonna start installing the Vandemon next. The O2 is gonna get eliminated because of the two-wheel Dynoworks flash. The X-up valve as well is going to be eliminated. I'm going to get rid of these and get rid of the motor on it. So here's where I'm at, guys. I have the headers basically finger tight on there. They're still loose. I just have this here so it doesn't scratch with that bracket, but all of these are just hand tightened in, so they're still able to be moved around a lot. And what I decided to do is to take the collectors and basically separate this Y piece, because there's two of them. There's one on this side and one on the other side, and they take the 4 pipes and connect them into 2 down to 1 for the muffler. So if you separate them all, it's easier to get it all together, and then I can take this piece, go on to the muffler, and then come up here and tighten everything down once this is all bolted up. So it's all sitting, everything fits right, and it's all settled. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt everything up, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after it's all basically bolted and tight. So everything is loosely fitted. The hardest things to make line up were that bracket there and this bracket over here. That's why you want to leave everything loose. Obviously I have all the springs on it, but all that stuff is still loose. So there's plenty of play, because I really had to push to get that one to line up once this one was bolted. And those are still loose, and I still have to tighten them down. Nothing is tight yet. So looking at it though, I do think I'm gonna have to pull the tank up to get the X-up wires out. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to. The O2 sensor plug is way back in there too. You're probably not gonna be able to see it, but it's way back in there. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead, unbolt all this stuff, lift the tank up and get to that. So I can just unplug everything, and then it's gonna be basically reassembly from here. The exhaust is on. I need to torque the header bolts, and then after that, it's pretty much just putting the bike back together. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this thing thrown together. I'm pretty much done with the install of the exhaust. So torque it down, throw it together, and then I'll do a cold start for you guys. Oh, and one thing to remember, definitely wipe this thing down. I'm gonna use alcohol to wipe it down. You can use WD-40, but get the fingerprints off of it, because they will burn into the exhaust on these. So definitely remember to do that. So the bike's finally back together, and I did end up having to pull the tank off. Down in here is where the O2 sensor connects, and also the X-up valve. The 2 little wires that came up to the X-up valve are all under the tank. So I had to pull the tank off to get all that off, but it's finally together. This is the first time this bike's been together in like 3 months, so sorry if it's a little dirty, guys, but man, that exhaust fits this thing so well. H2R style exhaust. Vandemon did this thing right. So we're gonna go ahead and do the first startup. The bike has not been started in 3 months, so hopefully it starts first hit, but I'm gonna go ahead and put you a couple feet back from the exhaust and we can hear what this thing sounds like. Immediately, look at all this. Yeah, guys, this thing's gonna color out phenomenally. I'll give you guys some warm revs once it gets warmed up a little bit. Definitely gonna be a whole new animal now that the ECU is flashed, full exhaust, intake, everything's all done to it. I'm gonna get out and do a first ride on this bike here probably this weekend and let you guys know my thoughts. And the 2-wheel Dynaworks flash, I'm sure, brought out probably 50 horsepower in this bike. But let's go ahead and get some warm revs on Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys like this kind of thing with the installs and everything. I enjoyed making this video, but as always, leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. Till next time, guys.